Photoshop, Project 7, House Painting. I want to start off by telling you this is going to be something completely different from what we've done before. You're not putting pieces of things together, you're not color correcting, you're going to actually make a painting. And it's really easy to do this, and some of you are going to find that this is really fun. Some of you are going to absolutely hate it, but I think it's a great project, and it's just something that most people never really think about when they're working Photoshop. We are in stage 1, which is filling solid areas. And the first thing that I want you to do is to import your custom swatches. So here we have all of the standard swatches. I've already gone in and changed my listing to small list, and this will not come open if you have not gone into Window and displayed your swatches, so please do that first. And then we're going to go into Replace Swatches. I need you to navigate into your WIP folder into Houses, and you're going to need to change from swatches with an ACO to Swatch Exchange, which is a .ase file, and then it will bring up Home Color. I need you to select that and select Load. That should replace the swatches. If you get a question about that, say to replace rather than to append, because otherwise you're going to have an extremely long list of swatches. You do not want to add to what we had. You want to replace them with this. And then go to Open and open the house file that is in your Houses folder. Use the embedded profile, and you have this lovely little black and white drawing. We are going to start to paint. In your Layers folder, you're going to rename your background. Name it Sketch, and go ahead and relock the file and bring up a new layer and name that Walls. Make sure Walls is your active layer. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so we can see a little more of what I'm doing here, and I am going to use my rectangle selection tool to select, you got it, the walls. Don't worry too much about what you overlap. In fact, you can actually come all the way across here and select everything. That'll work just fine. Might nudge that up just a hair. And add to the selection. Keep adding to the selection till you have everything covered. Remember that your Shift key allows you to add to the selection while your Subtract key will take away from it. And we want to get all of our house front selected. There we are. And with that selected, pick up in your Swatches panel Stucco 2 and go to Edit, Fill, Foreground Color. And that's going to fill everything that we had selected. Go to your Layers panel and change the opacity, not the fill, but change the opacity of that layer down to 80%. We're going to want to bring that back up later, but for right now we want to be able to see what's going on so we have some guidelines. Once you have that done, go ahead and hide that layer, and we're going to add another layer, and we're going to name that layer Front Trim. Oh, and deselect, by the way. On Front Trim, we are going to pick up our Paint Bucket tool. Now your Paint Bucket, mine's showing, I believe, but your Paint Bucket is going to be underneath your Gradient tool, so just select the Gradient tool and pick up Paint Bucket. And then go back into your swatches and pick up the swatch named Trim 1. Before we start painting with the Paint Bucket, make sure that the contiguous and all layers are selected at the top in the options bar. The Paint Bucket works by filling areas with the selected foreground color. Because contiguous is checked, only the areas inside that trim are going to be filled. We're kind of sampling a color which in this case is white, and then we're going to fill that area only until it hits a different color, black. So all I have to do is click. I need to make sure to click. Oh, I clicked the wrong area there, so let me undo. There, there. I want to click the pillars and the trim going up and around the door. Make sure you select and fill the windowsill. Now you'll notice that some of this will not fill. We're going to have to go back in and correct that because it will only fill certain areas depending on where you select. Anything that's in a shadow is not going to be filled properly. Now zoom in close to this section. Like I said, not everything is going to fill properly. This didn't pick up because we have very little area that's actually white. So we're going to have to pick up our marquee tool, fill an area by selecting it, turn off the sketch layer, and then we can go back to our paint bucket and fill this section. Okay, so I'm going to pick up this area. I need to go back to my marquee tool and pick up this section, and then I'll be able to fill it. Then I can turn my sketch back on. Any other sections that you have that did not fill correctly, possibly up here in the trees, and you can use your lasso tool if you'd like, so that you can pick up those areas that were not able to be filled simply by clicking. But if you try to fill with the background layer showing, you'll find you need to turn off the background layer in order to make that fill. Create another new layer and name it Fascia. And make sure that that is the active layer. We're going to pick up the swatch called Trim 3, and we're going to deselect on the fascia layer. We are going to fill the create another layer and name it Garage Door. And pick up the swatch called Door 3, and fill the garage door. Now we may need to increase our tolerance in order to fill the top area, or you can pick up the marquee tool, select that area, turn off the sketch layer, and fill the selected area with our foreground color, deselect, and turn the sketch layer back on. Again, another new layer, and we're going to name that Pavement. Use the polygon lasso tool and select the pavement area. And then use the paint bucket to fill the selected area with the Pavement 1 swatch. Now you can deselect that area and continue filling in the sidewalk. Deselect anything that's left and save your file.